Welcome to the Never Stop Getting Better podcast presented by CoxHealth. Yes, you heard that right. We've added a new partner to the show, and we couldn't be more thankful for CoxHealth stepping up as our presenting sponsor. CoxHealth is the region's leading not for profit health system, serving 25 counties through six hospitals and over 100 clinics, with more than 14,000 dedicated employees committed to keeping our community healthy and close to home. We're proud to have them behind this show. Now, let's get into the show. Thank you, Cox Health. All right, welcome back to the show today where we have an outstanding guest. Our guest today is Jamie Wilhelm. She's an executive and leadership coach who helps high achieving leaders lead bigger, stay calmer, and deliver more without burning out in the process. She brings over 20 years of experience in high pressure corporate environments, having held leadership roles with major organizations like Walmart Connect, CVS Media Exchange, and Papa John's, working with global brands including Coca-Cola and Revlon. After years of seeing top performing leaders quietly struggle under constant pressure, Jamie now coaches managers through senior executives to lead with greater clarity, confidence, and resilience. She combines real-world leadership experience and with advanced training through Georgetown University, along with mindfulness, breathwork, and behavioral assessment tools to help leaders perform at a high level without losing themselves in the process. Jamie, I'm excited to chat with you today. Thank you so much for making and taking the time to come on and share.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I've been looking forward to this conversation all week.
Well, I'm fired up about it. Having researched you and done my homework. And we talked about this before we hit record. Like you moved into a profession that I feel like is something that might be in my future if today goes well. If today don't go well, then maybe it's not in my future. But it is a curiosity piece for me. Is moving into the executive coaching or leadership training. I think that's pretty awesome. Let's start with, you've spent 20 years, in high level corporate leadership. You've been around a lot of leaders, probably some good, probably some bad, probably some great. What did you start to notice throughout that 20 years about high performers that ultimately led you to want to do what you're doing now as far as the coaching part?
Yeah, so I like to say that my job is to help people not hate their jobs
Mm,
because we work so much and you want to be happy and be successful. It's such a big part of your life, and so many people dread going to work. And what I've seen with leaders as well is you can be a really great person. But when pressure starts to arise, and there's so many pressures now in the corporate world, we've got AI, we've got complex organizations, we have everything that's going on with families and outside of work that's all coming together. That's when leaders start to crack, is when they can't handle the pressure.
mm,
And so my goal and what I want to help people do is figure out how to function within the pressure because that's not going to go away.
mm,
It will always be there. It may change, it may evolve, but it's still going to be there. So, how can you thrive within that and regulate your nervous system so you can lead from a better place?
I had Dr. Wayne Chappelle on here, who is absolutely phenomenal and just wrote a book with Craig Groeschel, Healing Your Mind. And, he talked about the numbers behind this, struggling, surviving, and thriving, and this is general, okay? These numbers are close, and he had researched it. 35% of the population is what he would classify in this struggling, like serious, issues with anxiousness, different things. 50% are in this middle ground of surviving. And surviving means they're going to work, they're happy, like life is good, okay?
Mhm.
But when adversity hits, they just crumble. And then he said there's 15% of this, part that's actually thriving. And the difference between thriving and surviving was how they handled adversity. So, would you say that? one of the things that separates the great leaders from the average leaders would be the way they handle pressure, the way they handle life and work and business when adversity hits.
Mhm. 100%. And a lot of that too is how you can regulate yourself. People can feel your energy when
Uh,
you come, even virtually, right? You can
no
feel,
doubt,
I feel your energy
no
as
doubt.
soon as I started talking to you. And if it's negative or nervous or anxious or angry, your whole team can feel that.
Let's talk about this, Jamie. Give me a time in your life, I mean, where pressure has got the most of you, like where pressure built up and it did cause some issues with you. And then, when did you start learning how to handle it? When did you, flip the script on, struggling and pressure? Because I've done that. Like I'm in a profession where they put a scoreboard at the end of the field and, like, good Lord, if it's not going good, man, you want to think about pressure, right? Like I can get fired, as I'm sure a lot of people can, but if that scoreboard goes the wrong way, and I have learned, how to deal with pressure and talk to myself differently. So, do you have an example of when, you really struggled with pressure? What did you learn from it? And how have you learned to, become good enough at managing it that I'm going to go help somebody else figure out how to get through this?
Yeah, I think when I worked at Walmart Connect, it was a very they had high expectations, right? And so there was a lot of pressure. And what I've noticed, John, is I put pressure on myself.
Yeah,
There were many times where the pressure wasn't coming as much as I thought. I'm like, oh, it's coming from my boss or coming from this. It was really coming from me. And so I would do things outside of work, like go on walks. I did yoga a lot because it helped calm me down. But what wasn't calming me down was when you're in the moment,
yeah.
right? Like I can go on a run before work, but like that doesn't help me when I start to feel the pressure right then. And so when I started to learn more about things that you can do in the moment to make the pressure less, that's when I really started to excel and become better at my job and a better leader.
Okay, Jamie, talk me through this. You're fixing to walk up on stage in front of, 3,000 people and deliver a keynote. And
Hmm.
it's normal, right? It's
Hmm.
normal to have this anxiousness. Some people will call it nervousness. I try to call it excited, right? I try to change the terminology. Give me a few things in the moment, when pressure hits, when your nerves kind of get out of whack. What do you do to get back in alignment?
One very simple one is to simply just place your fingertips together like this and push.
Mm,
And it just, the feeling brings your nervous system back into a better place. So this one I really like, and I use a lot of breath work.
yeah.
There is something called the physiological sigh. Have you heard of it? Your
Yes.
team probably does it, but just the quick
Yeah.
two short inhales, one long exhale, it really calms your nervous system.
Yeah.
Um, More than
I've
anything,
heard
that's what really works for me.
that is one of the first things that when I started trying to figure out how to physiologically slow down my heart rate, right? Lower my blood pressure, the breath work was number one. Like that was what I went to first. I read a couple of books, educated myself. Andrew Huberman, who I follow on a podcast, has talked about a certain type of breath. And I think there's all different types, right? You got 4x4 box, you've got all these
Mhm.
different, numbers, and I don't know, obviously I'm not a doctor. I don't know if one's better than the other, but what I do know is this, that it works. I know that for a fact. Like it absolutely slows down, my physiological being, and then I've learned how to, reframe what's fixing to happen because if you'd have put me on stage 6, 7 years ago, I would have been really nervous. I would have been sweating. My palms would have been. But what I've learned to do is take a couple of deep breaths, and nobody even knows I'm doing it. They can't see me do it. And then I start reframing what's going on. Like I'm not nervous, I'm excited. I'm not worried about it coming off well. I'm going to go be, who I am, and I'm going to deliver something that somebody in that audience is going to need, and that's to me has changed the way, I approach my job, my house, I mean, my home. It gives me a way to deal with pressure. What does success in general, what does success mean to you?
Ooh, in general, I mean, success is always hitting your goal, whatever that is. But for me, it's having purpose and helping other people. And that's why I took this leap into coaching because I've got a lot of experience in the field. I'm an anxious person myself. All the tools that I'm sharing with other people are the things that worked for me.
Yeah, yeah. I heard this definition the other day, and I don't think, I think success is what it is, right? We all want to be successful. Like I get that, and it is hitting goals. But I heard this, I heard John Maxwell yesterday on a Zoom say that success is about me and significance is about you. Like significance is about other people. And, one of the things I try to when you get into coaching, right? Like you're trying to help the person that you're working with. You know what I mean? So success in that is going to be more being significant with that person and making a difference in them. What are some of the things, when you say a lot of people go to work and they're not happy or not, like I get that, right? I see that. Like I've grown up with parents that weren't tickled to death to get up and go be a nurse every day or to get up and, like I understand that from seeing other people. What are some other things that, leaders today struggle with? What are some of the most common things that they struggle with?
I see a lot of leaders who are, and specifically managers, who are really good at the job and then they get promoted because they're good at their job.
Mm,
And once you become a people manager, your entire job changes.
yeah,
And I think the stat, it's very high. It's like 70% of new managers are not trained to lead people until they've been in the role over a year. And by that time, you've like messed everybody else up already,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I think that that is a big area where I help people is how do you take real life situations that you're dealing with and talk through them so that you can, be accountable and just lead from a better place. Many people are too afraid to admit that they need help. And so
Mm.
that's why coaching is so great because I can be a thought partner and people have the opportunity to vent, of course, but we work through real life situations together.
Yeah, I think that's really, really, really good. And I have heard and I have had friends who, might be in sales and they might be the best salesman on the team. And then they get promoted to a manager of a sales team and they have absolutely been promoted outside of their wheelhouse. And
Hmm.
then there's nobody to train them as to how to be a leader, right? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, the leadership skills that it takes is different when you're dealing with people than when you're dealing, with just you selling, something to someone else. Another big one that I think people struggle with, and you may agree with this or you may not, is time. If you ask 100 people, how are you, right? Like, I bet you 99% of them people say, I'm busy. I'm busy. And busyness sometimes creates anxious moments, right? Like when we become overly busy, that's when you get the burnout, right? I can guarantee you in the coaching profession, you're going to run into people who say they're extremely busy and they're burned out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what would you advise, the person you're working with that tells you, like, I'm just busy. Like I don't have enough time in the day. I don't have, and when you start running behind on time, okay, it's no different than if I'm 2 minutes late to church. I get anxious because I hate being late. If your life is like that, right? Like it can throw you completely out of whack. Like how would you try to help a person manage their time better?
Yeah. Two things come to mind. The first is called energy blocking. So, part of our circadian rhythm, we have times of the day where we're more able to concentrate on specific tasks and focus more than others. And so, making sure that you're using those few hours of your day for the right
Mm,
thing. Don't use
mm,
your focused thinking time for answering emails. And so, prioritizing your day based on the natural rhythm of your body. So that's a big one. And then the second one is, what are you busy with?
mm.
And something that I experienced a lot when I was in the corporate world was I felt like I needed to respond to every single email and every single Slack message like right away. And then my whole day was based on other people's priorities,
Yeah,
not my own. And I don't even know, like, then I couldn't focus on moving the needle. I was just answering emails that I probably didn't even need to answer,
yeah,
you know? So
yeah,
it's just kind of like it's thinking about like what's really important, what's going to move the needle, and what can be done later in the week or
yeah.
not done at all.
There are systems, right, that we can implement to manage time, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes I have because when I went through the mental performance training system, I went through this 168-hour week deal where you take a week and you write down every hour for the entire week and you absolutely schedule what did you do every hour of the day. So one of the things I try to tell people that want to say they're extremely busy, like create a 168-hour week. Like I would just about guarantee you're going to find patches of time that you weren't very productive, right? You weren't doing a whole lot. And you're going to spend more time doom scrolling with these things than you think
I
you
was
are, right?
just
Like
gonna say this.
the TVs, and so one of the things I started doing years ago was keeping a Google Doc from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. I share it with my wife. So we put on Sunday night, we put everything on it for the entire week. And it just keeps everything in perspective. Where there are blocks of time where we're not doing nothing and we're intentionally not doing nothing. That's okay. You know what I mean? But there's also blocks of time that I can schedule, different things. I know when my meetings are. I know, everywhere I'm supposed to be. And that helped me, as far as allocating time. I want to ask you this because I think this is a problem in the world today with leaders and with everybody. Awareness. Like what I've heard it said that 90% of the people in the world believe they're aware, but it's probably closer to more like 10%. And I believe I have issues with self-awareness. Like, what are your thoughts around self-awareness and how can we increase our self-awareness?
Yeah, that's a really good one. And there are so many people that are not self-aware and
No
think they
doubt.
are. I just became Hogan certified. Have you heard of that
I have
leadership
not.
assessment?
Uh-uh.
It's called the Hogan Leadership Assessment, and what it does is you take an assessment, and it tells you your bright spots, how you show up under stress, your motivators, and your values. But
Wow.
the cool thing about it is that it's based on reputation, not about what you think about yourself.
Mm.
And when you go through that, you see the gap in what people think of you versus what you think of yourself. And that's a really good tool for becoming more self-aware.
I love that. So you're actually sending it to people in your life that know you well enough to answer it.
That is actually, there's another, it's called a 360 review where you would do that. This one is based on the millions of people that they have on their database, and it's
Okay.
how you answer the question.
Yes,
You're
I'm with
most
you.
likely to have these characteristics.
I love that. That's really
Yeah.
good.
It's really cool. And it's a basis I use for my coaching too. Like, take this assessment. Let's talk about those gaps. Where do you feel like what's surprising you about this? What should we work on to change this behavior or become aware of the behavior so you can create goals for yourself and hold yourself accountable on how to change that self-awareness.
Very good. I heard Clint Hurdle. I had an interview with him earlier this week, and he made the statement that you have to know yourself, grow yourself, and love yourself. Well, before you can love yourself and grow yourself, you have to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, then if you're unaware of who you actually are, what you are actually all about, what is your purpose in life, like it's a struggle. Like it's just a struggle. And that's, I watched a deal about Gen Z a couple weeks ago, and he talked about Gen Z is the most anxious, stressed out, more mental issues than any group that's ever come through. And one or two of the top reasons were they don't know what their purpose is. They don't have a purpose or they're not dialed in on their purpose. And the other one was they don't belong to a group. They don't belong to something bigger than themselves. Now, this ain't all of it. This cell phone is not the reason why, okay, but it's not helping it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people think you can, sit down and have a text conversation with a friend, and it's not the same as going to eat lunch with a friend. It is different. So I think that also keeps us sometimes from finding our purpose, right? Because when you take a walk by yourself with no electronics, you actually think, right?
Mhm.
But if we have our phone with us, we don't think a whole lot. I mean, even if we're at a red light and we get bored, what do? We pick up our phone and see if somebody dinged us. You know what I mean? Like
Crazy.
it's
I do it.
ridiculous.
I do it. I do it.
Well,
Yes.
we all do, but again, you have to carve out time to intentionally be in your thoughts, like because if you don't have time to contemplate, if you don't have time to be bored and let your mind like, like you really don't know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, you don't even know where to start growing yourself and loving yourself is really, really going to be an issue. So
Yeah.
some of the best leaders you've been around, throughout your life, what are some common like mindset traits or habits that they might have that's a little bit different than the average person? If you just think about one or two of the best leaders you've ever been around, what was their mental makeup, and did they have some habits that you think separated them?
I think one of the biggest things is creating safety for your
Mm,
team and making people feel safe so that they can express themselves, they can voice their opinion, um, so they feel like they have purpose in the overall organization or whatever, whether it be a social organization or at work. Um, Creating that safety is so important. And the leaders that don't do that, that's when their teams start to get anxious and
yeah,
try to people please and overthink things because they're just trying to make their leader happy and are too worried about stepping on anyone's toes or hurting someone's feelings to say what they really think. And then the organization can't move forward because there's not
yeah,
enough, they can't just be one person.
right. Very good. What's a question that you wish every leader asked themselves daily? Like what's a question you should ask yourself, every single day?
How am I feeling right? How am I feeling today? Because the way that you feel, um, we talked about this at the beginning, like it's a ripple effect around everyone that you're with.
Yeah,
But you got to understand, like, hey, today I'm feeling anxious. Today I'm feeling angry. Today I feel great. Um, and it's not that you should hide those things
right.
to your team or who you're with, but you need to be aware of them and how they can affect other people.
No doubt about it. Well, I mean, you just go back to you have to know what you feel before you can absolutely try to manage and change what you feel. I mean, you have to have some intentional thoughts, because one thing I have learned is that if you change your perspective, you can change your attitude. If you change what you focus on, you can change, your thoughts. And thoughts are a very scary, like thoughts to me, like I feel like we're pre-engineered to have a bunch of negative thoughts. It's so easy for anybody to walk around and think that, they're not good enough, they're not pretty enough, they're not smart enough, they're not like I think we're pre-engineered for all these thoughts that don't serve us, but learning how to flip those thoughts, is a skill that most certainly can happen, and for me, it's as simple as this. I mean, I want to stop and ask myself, when I start having some negative thoughts, man, number one, is it true? Most of
Hmm.
the things that we think aren't even true, right? And if
Hmm.
it's not true, kick it out, go get another thought. Sometimes it is true, right? Then my second question is, does it serve me? Does it help me? Does it add value
Yeah.
to my life? If it don't, I'm gonna try to flip the script on that, and just get a different perspective. And a lot of times I have learned that when I am in my feelings, it's all about me. I'm thinking about me. I'm not thinking about you. And when I get out of myself and I get into, other people, then all of a sudden life gets better. It's weird how, it's kind of weird how that works.
Yeah, if you ever work with me, one of the questions I always ask, because it happens so often, what story are you telling yourself right now?
No doubt.
What is the story you're telling yourself? And then what evidence do you have to support that story?
Mm,
And most of the time, it's not. There is no
mm,
evidence. They
yeah,
made it up.
yeah,
And then you spend all this time thinking about something that's not even true or relevant.
yeah. I heard a stat one time. I don't know this to be factual, but they said 90 to 95% of the things we worry about in life never come true.
Yeah.
Think about that. And I will with my wife because my wife can be a worry person, right? Like I'm like, hun, like let's wait till it comes true before we worry about it. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to die 44 times, like I just want to die once. And there was our lesson with that was one of her grandparents was 92, 93, 94, and they were at the end of life. And like I felt like that we went through the death like 10 times. Like
Yeah.
there were 10 different phone calls that were like, oh, this is it. This is it. This is and like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Like let's just wait. Like let's wait and suffer once. Let's don't suffer 10 times. Like it's kind of
It's
weird.
so funny that you say that because my grandmother is 99. She'll be 100 in
Mm.
October. And yeah, like every Christmas, we're like, is this the last one? And like, why? Why are we even thinking that?
We are pre-engineered for negativity, and it is just common, I think human nature. But the great thing about what you're going to do and doing, in coaching others is there is a better way. And
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons why I want to help other people because I live it every day. Like I was on the other side of the fence, and I have learned how to tell myself fantastic stories, flip the script on negative thoughts, serve other people, live with a purpose that's bigger than myself. And, life's a lot better on this side of the fence than it was on the other side of the fence. And I want to help people, like live a life that is thriving, that is absolutely wonderful because wonderful is available. It's available to everybody. It's not just reserved for me or for whoever else in this world is thriving. You know what I'm saying? Like it's available for everybody if you choose to do it.
Yeah, and that the whole reframe of focusing on what you can control is key
Yeah,
because there's so many things we can't control.
no
And
doubt.
when we spend time trying to control those things, we just it messes us up,
Yeah.
right? But there are so many things we can control, and one of them is our thoughts.
You know what? Two of the thoughts or like frameworks that I ran into years ago that I help teach is the simple formula of E plus R equals O. Brian Kite, Tim Kite taught me that years ago. And what it means is this: we do not control the events in our life, E. We do not control the outcomes in our life, O, but what we do control is how we respond. We
Respond.
control how we respond to events. And although we don't control outcomes, we can influence outcomes by the way we respond. That framework changed my life because what it told me was control the controllables, control what I can control. I can control how I respond to you no matter what you do. If you cut me off in traffic, I can give you a pass and to myself say, you know what? I bet she's headed to the hospital to see her mom or to see her grandmother or to see her. Like I can choose a different story that gives me a response that influences, the outcome that I want. And then the other one was this, when you say you don't control events, but you are an event for other people.
Oh,
How do
I
you
love that.
show up? Like I am an event for everybody that shows up to the ball game on Friday night. When a
Mhm.
penalty happens and it don't go our way, how do I show up? Because they're watching me, like am I going to be something worth catching or am I not? Like that was another thought that really changed the way that I operated because I never really stopped to think that, like I'm an example for other people. When you walk in the room, does the room get brighter or does it get dimmer? You
Yeah.
know the people, man. They walk in, you're like, oh my God, here they come, right? And then
Or
you
like,
got
I
the
hope
other
they're not
people,
there.
no doubt about it. But you got the other people that when they walk in, they just make life better. They
Yeah.
just do. And that's to me, I want to be more of a light than I want to be, somebody that cancels out light for sure. Let me ask you
Yeah.
this. You're moving, 5, 6 months ago, you went from the corporate world, right, to this entrepreneurship coaching world. What led you to say, stick your, sign in the yard and say, I'm out of this and I'm going full speed into this? Like how did you come to that decision?
I just really wanted to help people. Like when I look at my everything I've done throughout my career, um, I I feel like a lot of strange things happened to me from a work perspective, and I dealt with some very weird situations. And I think now those were meant for me to help other people through similar situations.
Mm,
What always lit me up was helping my team through a problem, seeing someone get promoted. I did Big Brother, Big Sister. I volunteered for, I don't know, for like 15 years. She was 6 when we started our relationship. She's 25 now, which was crazy.
wow.
But
Yeah.
like I adored that, like seeing her grow and helping her become a leader for herself. And that made me want to do it all the time,
Yeah.
all the
Okay.
time.
So I believe in writing down my future. Okay. Like I could pull
Oh
up on
yeah.
my phone, my notes app, like I'll just 5 years from now, I see myself, you know, sitting on the deck overlooking the ocean. I see myself, I see my kid, like I will try to visualize this out,
Yeah.
see what it looks like. So if you were to dream into the future, right? Like what does 5 years from now? Like what are you doing 5 years from now? What is life like?
5 years from now, I have already helped a bunch of people, one, but I would just love to have a thriving coaching business where I can use all my skills. So I've got the executive coaching, I'm a breathwork facilitator, I'm a yoga teacher. How can I use all of those strengths to help as many people as I can?
All right, let me say this now because I have not, but I will put all this in the show notes. You can go to Jamie's website. Her website is Jamie, Jamie, Wilhelm, Wilhelm, coaching.com. And the website's fantastic. Like I've spent some time on that. Like I'm redoing mine now because it was not as nice as yours. So your website is fantastic. There's
Thank
a
you.
lot of great things that, you have on there. How do you grow your business? Like you're brand new, right? You're just getting started. How do you have a plan to acquire clients? Do you have, a method to shoot your information out? Like how does someone, that's listening to this that may want to work with you or may want to find out more information other than the website, jamiewilhelmcoaching.com, like where would you ask them to find more information about you, and then do you have, first part of that question was, how are you gonna acquire, right?
Mhm.
The plethora of folks that you're gonna help in the future.
Yeah, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so I post a lot of
That's where I found you.
yeah, thank you. I post a lot of leadership tips on there on LinkedIn, so we can put that in the show notes. I'm also very active on Instagram, and I give a lot of free value, tips that you can use, somatic practices that you can use to help you regulate in the moment. Free resources are on there. I've got a guide with mindset shifts. I have a guide of 10 somatic practices that you can do in the moment when nobody knows. And I'll continue to create resources like that for anyone who needs them.
That is awesome. And that I have learned because I was not a LinkedIn person up until I don't know, it's maybe a year ago. Like I don't know why I wasn't. I just wasn't. Like I'm a football coach, and that's what was what I well, I did jump into it and I've enjoyed it because the LinkedIn is more the professional
Hmm.
social media platform. And I like all of them. Like I think social media is great. I think you can absolutely find great information. And if you want to find stupid stuff, you can find that too. But the way algorithms work, man, like if you don't pay no attention to the stupid stuff, you don't get very much of it. You know what I'm saying? So if you'll, pay attention to the positive people in the world like yourself, you will see more good things. If there's somebody listening right now that feels stuck, right? Just overwhelmed in life, or just just on this rat. I picture a rat or a mouse on a treadmill. Just like so many people in life, I think wake up, they run like hell, they get off and they pass out at the end of the day. They wake up the next morning, they run like hell, and and they just get in this what I call rat race of life.
Yeah.
If there's somebody listening today that feels like they're in the rat race of life, they're stuck, they don't feel great. What is one of the first things, the first step that you would ask them to take?
Oh, that is, you got to calm your nervous system.
Mm,
You really do. Like, I feel if everyone could be in the present, that's what calming your nervous system does. It brings you to the present moment. And if everyone could just be present, they can think clearly, they can communicate better, they can make better decisions. Can you imagine what this world would be like? It would be amazing,
it would
even
be
more
bliss.
amazing than it is already.
Yes, it would be bliss. Okay, so we're normally not in the present. Okay, so
Mhm.
where are our thoughts normally?
Either the past or the future.
What's good? What's good about the past and the future?
The good thing about the past is that you can learn from the past,
Sure.
right? So that's the positive about being in the past, but we also can't get stuck in the past. And like what got us to where we are now is probably not going to get us to the next moment. You know that
Mm,
as a coach, right? You
mm.
got to continue
Yep.
to get better
Yep.
every single day. And we talked about the future a little bit. That's more like your anxious world and thinking about things that may or not happen. And
Yep.
you don't want your life to just pass you by because you're so focused on things that you're trying to control in the
Yeah.
future that you can't.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jamie, I'm gonna give you this visual, okay? Now, I think I created this. Now, there are people out there that are using this now. I promise you, I think I'm a visual guy. Like I need
Okay.
I need visual things to learn.
Okay, bring it
So
on.
this is my visual of being present, okay? Like you're sitting in the car and take a picture through the windshield, okay? So
Hmm.
like to me, if you're in a car and it's a pretty clear sunny day, you can see about 2 miles out in front of you. That's it. That's as far as we can see. So my thought is our thoughts should be like we're driving a car. Like it should be on what's in front of us right now. Like where are we at right now? The present,
Hmm.
right? We should think about the present. We
Hmm.
can't look too far down the road, right? Like if we look 5 miles down the road, we're gonna run into a tree right now, right? So you
Hmm.
can't spend a lot of time, looking too far out in the future. And then the rear view mirror. How big is it compared to the windshield?
Mm.
It's extremely small. So how much time should we spend thinking about the past?
Yeah.
Very little, right? Now we
Yeah.
want to spend some, right? We want to know what's behind us. We want to know what we come from. We want to know, like our lessons, as you said. And then I picture, because I have this, I use it in some presentations. There's a GPS sitting on the dash. What's the GPS for? Like that's your directions, right? That's your
Hmm.
goals in life, right?
Goals.
Like that's where you're going. How often do you look at the GPS in your car? Not very often. You look at it when you're going to make a turn or so the same thing in life. Like you should have goals, but you can't just stare at them all day long every day, right? Like you got to go, man, you got to go, you know? And then the other thing about that GPS is this. The other lesson that I feel like I love is when you make a wrong turn, what does the GPS say?
Reroute.
Reroute. What it don't say is, "Hey, you idiot, you missed the turn. Hey, you idiot." Like
Turn around.
our self talk will treat us like that, where our GPS don't. Right? It says rerouting, to the next street. So to me, that's another lesson. And then the final picture I have in my visual is the side mirror. Right? The side mirror tells you who are you riding through life with, like who's beside you. Who's beside you is important. You know what I mean? Like, so I keep this visual and I feel like that's the way we should approach life. Like very little time, behind us. Don't look too far out. Like just be present because being happy, being joyful, being at peace is being present. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
when you're on that treadmill of life, man, it cannot be the best thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Can
just
I
all
add
those
something
things.
to your
Yes,
visual of the
most
car?
certainly.
I think another really important piece is to check in and notice how you're feeling because your
Mm,
mind and your body are so connected.
no doubt.
And what I've really learned from the breathwork facilitation is that we have things that are stuck in us that we don't even know physically. Think about
Mm,
like the pain you have in your shoulders, any stomach issues you're having. They're your mind and your body are not separate. They are all
mm,
together. And so if you're in the car and you can do a quick check-in, like how am I feeling right now? Where am I feeling it in my body? Those allow you to be able to take care of things that you
yeah.
may just be so worried about the future or the past that you're not paying
Yeah.
attention to what's right there in front of you.
I love that. No doubt about it, man. Let's go back to what my man Clint Hurdle said. You got to know yourself. You know what I mean? Like you got
Yeah.
to know yourself before you can grow yourself and before you can love yourself. So I think that is absolutely fantastic.
And the
Well,
values piece of that too is
ooh,
we do a lot of values work in coaching too to help know yourself is like
yep.
what's really important to you? What are
Yeah.
your non-negotiables in life? And some people don't take the time to think about that.
There's probably a large portion of people that don't even know what you're talking about. They don't even know what their own personal core values are, much
Yeah.
less, like I have been through the exercises to figure out what mine are. And
Hmm.
without them, making decisions can be hard. You know what I mean? Like I use my core values to help me make decisions in life. I mean, we use our core values in our athletic program to help us, stay on the right road with our football team. Like I do think that's a huge piece of it, and it's something that can help businesses be better for sure.
Yeah, I have a document on that. So let me figure out how to put it on my website or something so everyone can access it and go through that exercise on their
Yeah,
own.
for sure. I have a book coming out in about, I don't know, it'll probably be about a month or two, but there one of the chapters in there has a way you can figure out what your personal core values are.
Oh,
That's a
perfect.
that's a simple it's a simple process, but it has meant so much to me just to know what they are. And then I'll tell you something else I did because you reminded me of this earlier. I have sent that group of words to, four or five of my best friends, and I said, which of these words stick out about me? And had them circle and send back because like I know that I struggle with self-awareness. I know that everybody does, and I want to get better. To get better, I need to, have people that can be honest and hold me accountable. Now, this is the last question I have for you before I let you jump off. You've been super gracious. Accountability will be a big piece, I think, of coaching other humans, right?
Yeah.
Because I think there is, as I have started to try to figure out and learn that some of the elite in Southwest Missouri, they hire coaches, right? They're elite and they're hiring coaches. But
Hmm.
one of the main reasons why they hire coaches is accountability.
Hmm.
How will you help hold people accountable?
Yeah. So every session I do, we start with what do you want to focus on today? And like we create an agreement for the goal of
Mm,
that day. And then at the end of the session, I always ask, how are you going to hold yourself accountable?
I
And so
love
we
that.
talk about it before the session is even over.
I love that. And that is something we will have to get into on it. I would love to know, like your routines and, because I went through the John Maxwell leadership coaching training, speaking
Yeah.
deal, and
Congratulations.
thank you. But I thought the coaching part was, really good. I've been speaking for a little while, so, like it was good, but not earth-shattering. The coaching I have absolutely never really done, officially. So I thought that was really good. But part of it was, to have this, preset, whether it's a questionnaire they fill out before they come in or, like
Mhm.
a way for them to check themselves, but then also for them to express what they want. Like what
Yeah.
what what would be your goal? Like what would be, what would be a great day for you today? Like what, because you what I have learned about coaching is it's more asking than it is telling.
Hmm.
Like in this profession I'm in, I've done a lot of therapy work. I've done a lot of talking, whereas coaching is going to be more curiosity. It's going to be more throwing out questions to help them, figure out where they want to go and how they want to get there.
And the importance of that is because I don't share a lived experience with that person. I have no idea the context of what they're in. The only aspect I know is what that person tells me,
Yeah.
right? So who am I to give someone advice if I don't know that,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So the goal is helping them figure it out on their own with my support
Yeah.
because they know the complexity of the situation more than I ever will.
Yeah. You're
And
becoming a partner with.
yeah, 100%. And also, coaching will work because we set a goal and you hold someone accountable for it.
Yeah.
So there's no way that you will not see transformation or
Yeah.
success by the end of the engagement.
Amen. I love that. Well, if anybody is listening, wanting to get involved with Jamie, you can find her at jamiewilhelmcoaching.com. I'll put all that, her information in the show notes, website and all that. Jamie, you've been super awesome. I'm super grateful that you took the time to come on here and, I'm super, super thankful for you.
Well, I think you'll be a great coach if you decide to take that path. And I'm happy to help along the way. And thank you for being here and being so open. I'm also very grateful and appreciate all that you do for other people. It's your podcast, your book. It's incredible.
Well, I appreciate that. You're very kind. And I will be reaching out to you because I am one of my core values, if I did not say, is curiosity.
Me
And I
too.
am a curious human. So I will probably be reaching out with some questions in the future. So, I am super grateful. And I'm super grateful for everybody that listens to the show. Like you're the reason why I do what we do. I don't do this for me. I do this to try to add value to the world. And, I'm super grateful. My email, my cell phone's in the show notes if you ever need me. Call me. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Bye.
Thank you much.